Hello, welcome everyone. High School Huddle. Ronnie Phillips, Phil Nichols, Chris Evans with you. And it is spring football. Teams throughout the state of Oklahoma going through spring practices. And before you know it, guys, it'll be high school football season in August.
Yeah, it'll be time. Last year Ronnie left us hanging first game of the year that we covered, but I feel. Oh wait, that was me. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was me. I always get that mixed up. No, it'll be here before we know it. It'll be time. Exciting times. I mean, that's always my favorite time of the year. It's just because there's everybody's out there thinking they've got a shot, right? There's all this excitement and enthusiasm. Communities are pumped. It's what makes, in my opinion, Friday Night Lights the greatest sporting event there is, whatever town you're talking about. It's just that nothing impacts communities like Friday Night Lights as far as sports.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. I know see a lot of drive by the football field here in local town, and it's just head coaches up there at the indoor facility getting ready to go. So I'm sure that's going on all the way around the state. So everybody's getting excited, and everybody thinks they have a real good team right now until week 1 or week 0, I should say, and then we'll see who's actually going to be good and who's not, right?
Well, here in a second, we're going to talk about two teams that are going to be very, very good. That are going to be playing week 1. But before we get to that, drove by Chad Rich's Stadium, of course, at University of Central Oklahoma, who has had the state championship the last couple of years that we've been able to produce and broadcast and all that good stuff. But drove by there the other day, and we seen the renderings. It was going to be nice, but they kind of got the stands on the visitor side, and they're working on the end zone stuff by the scoreboard. It's going to be really nice, guys.
Yeah, last year when we were there covering the state championship games, of course, UCO, University of Central Oklahoma, does a tremendous job hosting that event every year. OSSAA, our friends over at the OSSAA, they put in countless hours making sure that comes off. And it's been fabulous the years we've done it there. But with these new improvements next year, it's going to be truly something to see because, like you said, the renderings we saw when we looked at it, we're like, all right, that's pretty legit. Of course, they got a new staff in at University of Central Oklahoma, a lot of energy, a lot of excitement there with football as well. But I'll tell you what, for kids coming in from all over the state of Oklahoma, a lot of these kids, it'll be the biggest venue they'll ever play on. And I think these additions they're making are going to make it great for the players, but also going to make it great for the fans because you're going to have truly a very impressive stadium for the fans to enjoy the game in with all the amenities you would expect.
It's really the perfect place to host a high school state championship game because, in the past they did it at Oklahoma State, they did it at Oklahoma, and the fans get in there, but the place is so big that there was no filling there. But when you get the fans here at Chad Richardson Stadium, it is awesome. You got both sides are packed. You can actually feel the energy on the field. It really is a truly unbelievable place for a high school football game.
Yeah,
we've been to a few state championship games over the years, obviously, and as fans and working them. Obviously, we've worked several of them. But to your point, when we'd go to OU or go to Oklahoma State, you'd be saying, "Man, the whole town's here," and you get in the stadium, you're like, "Okay, it feels like there's 12 people at the game."
Yeah.
You just get swallowed by it. So, atmosphere-wise, man, what a great decision I think the OSSAA's made to partner with University of Central Oklahoma.
Yeah, no doubt. That will be fun come December. And guys, big news today. It was a press conference held at Chapman Stadium today. Bixby and Owasso, we kind of saw this coming when they announced the week 1 game on August 25th, that this could be a possibility. But these two teams have decided to play their non-district game. We'll get into 6A1 Bixby here in a little bit. But Owasso and Bixby have decided to play at Chapman Stadium August 25th in a 2-year deal. I think Bixby will be the home team this year or vice versa. And then they'll switch it next year, obviously. But also Quick Trip, the convenience store chain up in the Tulsa area, is going to sponsor the event as well. So it's kind of that Jinx Union Backyard Brawl that has the sponsorship by the local bank up there as well. So Bixby and Owasso, as we expected, will play inside Chapman Stadium. And we're going to get into the storylines, but so many storylines to get into with this one, guys. And the first one I think is Bixby. I mean, they've won 85,000 state championships in a row. Maybe not that many, but they've won 49 straight games. And there's going to be a new Presley. If the freshman can crack the lineup, going to be a freshman this year. But your first thoughts of Owasso and Bixby inside Chapman Stadium, and they're thinking this might be the largest crowd to ever watch a high school football game in the state of Oklahoma.
Well, I think the energy will be incredible. I think, you spoke to Bixby's success. You can't sleep on Owasso. Those Rams, they've been there every year, won state championships last several years. I mean, they're a powerhouse football program in their own right. They haven't won 49 in a row, but they've won a lot of football games. And I think, and I'm not going to jump into the storylines. I'll let you bring us into those. But I think everybody's sitting around right now in the state of Oklahoma that follows high school football here saying, okay, can Bixby continue the dominance in 6A1? They did it in 6A2. They played every year. They'd play 3 6A1 teams and won all those, beat Jinx, playing the big boys.
Carl Albert.
And Carl Albert, absolutely demolished Carl Albert. I mean, just patted them on the bottom and sent them home. I mean, it could have been worse than what the score showed. I mean, so they're dominant. But, there's a guy over there that coaches football at Owasso that's pretty good. And he's done a pretty good job building that Owasso program up over the last several years. I think it's a game that could get picked up by I think could potentially get picked up by some national TV channels, some media companies to broadcast. It's going to be big time. I think I'm one of these guys that thinks Bixby is a juggernaut. I think they've become in this. If you're not from Oklahoma, this probably won't make a lot of sense, but it'll become the Jinx Union. I think they're the next Jinx. I really do. I think they've got so much going on. They're getting kids that are. I think how many transfers have they had in? 5?
5 this semester. Yeah, this school year.
So, like we were talking off the air, Chris, this isn't transferring is not just a private school thing. There's a lot of people transferring out there. They're doing it within the rules. I'm not trying to suggest that they're not doing it within the rules, but but they are definitely kind of the landing spot, it seems, for a lot of high level kids. And the last thing I'd say, Ronnie, before I get your thoughts, is we saw the young Presley kid in the pregame, the state championship game last year, down warming up. And I thought, well, man, who's that kid? Why isn't he suited up? And he's down there making one-handed snags and, kick, doing, and he looks like a grown man. He's the biggest of the 3 Presley boys, I promise you. So it will be interesting to see if we know the bloodlines continue. No, he will be a presence. It just comes down to, will he be a presence as a freshman? I somehow believe that we will see him on the football field as a freshman because I think he's pretty special.
Yeah, we'll definitely probably see him on the field just because he was he was great on the sideline. I was like, man, he ain't playing, like we just said. Yeah. But for me, being a West Side guy, for all these years, all we heard about was Jinx Union. Every single year, it's the same 2 teams battle for the championship. Now we finally got 2 other teams that we're talking about. We're talking about Owasso and Bixby. I mean, 2 teams that potentially, like you said, be the next Jinx and Union. So it's nice to see that there's more than just 2 schools out there competing. Well, now we got Bixby, who's just unbelievable the past several years, as we've seen. And it's going to be exciting to see 6A1 grow, especially on that east side.
Well, you can't sleep on Broken Arrow.
Yeah, either. Broken Arrow's like over here, guys.
You got Broken Arrow too. Exactly. It's just it's going to be a good time to watch.
Yeah, it is. And on the west side of the state, you got Mustangs, Santa Fe's. Edmond Santa Fe's made some runs the last couple of years. I'm not suggesting they're at that level yet because I don't think they are, but they're taking steps to get there. And I think with time, I think those are the 2 teams. If I was going to look at 6A1 on the west side, I think it's your Mustangs, your Santa Fe's, that are going to make the most noise.
You look at the Owasso Bixby, and one of the storylines that'll be talked a whole lot of is the coaching sidelines. You got Lauren Montgomery against Bill Blankenship, Phil.
Well, and I think Coach Blankenship's as good as it's ever carried a clipboard on the state of Oklahoma coaching football. And he's won at all levels. He's won everywhere he's been. He's won state titles, multiple schools. He had some very good years at the University of Tulsa. I mean, so he's obviously an elite coach who knows how to build a program, and he's done that at Owasso. And Lauren, all he is everybody's choice as the best coach in Oklahoma right now. I think there's some great coaches out there, but I think if most people went and said, if you had to pick one person that's done amazing things across the board, regardless of class of football, I think he would get the most votes as that guy right now. I mean, he's young, he's energetic. He comes from the great pedigree, obviously, coming over to Bixby. He's got it going on. He's created a staff over there that believes, and the community believes, and most importantly, the kids believe. They've really bought into what he's doing and what the staff at Bixby is doing. I just don't see them slowing down.
Another key storyline. There's a bunch of these storylines in there. It's the quarterback situation. A lot has been going on since football season ended in December. But Austin Havens, the great quarterback over at Owasso, he moved into Owasso his freshman year from North Carolina, and actually started 22 ball games last year. And the Owasso coaching staff made a quarterback change at the end of last year and brought in Mason Willingham, who also transferred in from Owasso from Sky took. But so Austin Havens lost a job and now has moved into the Bixby's, already attending school, already lifting the weights for Lauren Montgomery and his staff. So that will be interesting to watch. I saw some things that Austin, some of his teammates from Owasso understood. Some of his teammates didn't understand it. So he didn't really get into specifics. Lauren Montgomery didn't get into specifics why Austin left, but maybe if you can read between the lines, but that will be a storyline to watch. Of course, Lauren Montgomery says Austin Havens hasn't won a quarterback job yet. Do remember Bixby last year had a 1-2 quarterback presence of Christian Burke, who was your passing quarterback, and Connor Kirby was your running quarterback, if you will. And there was some Presley kid and Haas off to the side as well. But Connor Kirby does return this year, so we could possibly see another 1-2 quarterback spot at Bixby.
Well, and I think you look at the kid, transferring to Bixby speaks a lot to what Bixby's doing.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. You started and won 22 ball games for the Owasso Rams. You could play football, and maybe that speaks to the quality of the young man that came in, that transferred in, that put him on the bench. Now, we don't know what all went into that decision. Right. We don't know if it was based on performance or other things. And we're not going to speculate on that. But I do know this. I know who I think is going to be the starting quarterback at Bixby next year, because I don't think that young man goes to Bixby if he doesn't have a pretty clear understanding that he's going to be the starting quarterback. Now, the duel, right, the combination sure worked awful well last year, but I was watching some video of Austin, and that kid, he's an athlete. He can run the ball. He can definitely spin it. He's got a very unique throwing style, which I kept commenting on, but the numbers are there. I mean, he's 6'4", he's 210 pounds. He's got a 34-inch vertical leap. He benches around 300 pounds. I mean, this is a big, strong kid who's got a strong arm and who can run the football. So I think it's one of those scenarios where the rich keep getting richer for Bixby.
No doubt. It's going to be very exciting to see that play out, because I can tell you from being around sports for a while that when people transfer into a school that they're playing against next year, it's something to watch for. So I'm definitely ready for that storyline to play out as well.
Yeah,
1981 in the powerhouse in Kansas football, the Eureka Tornadoes. Our rival was Fredonia Yellow Jackets, and the starting quarterback for Fredonia the year before was a young man by the name of Dexter Bloodworth. Great name, right?
Great name.
Great name. One day we show up, we look up, Dexter Bloodworth is transferred to Eureka, Kansas his senior year. We've already got a returning starting quarterback from the year previous. Dexter transferred in. Dexter was the starting quarterback the next year. We were undefeated going into the Fredonia game. I believe we were 8-0. They were 8-0. And they proceeded to lay the wood to us 45-0. And there was so much hatred and so much venom from the Fredonia side to Dexter. I thought there was going to be people charged with manslaughter by the time the game was over. It was one of the worst butt whippings I've ever seen in my life. And I was just a little freshman over on the sideline going, Oh, that ain't good. I mean, it was just all night, just getting the wood laid to him. And so there is that. I think kids today are a little smarter. And of course, back in the early '80s, nobody was talking to a high school football player about anything, anywhere. But so we didn't have to deal with that. But I think kids are smart now. They know what to say. They know what not to say for the most part. But I think any doesn't believe that there's going to be a little added incentive for Owasso is kidding themselves.
Yeah, I think that Owasso defense will be ready to go. Of course, we always hear ready to go, but once the game actually starts, it's all about X's and O's and being in the right spot, all that good stuff. So, but we mentioned Austin Havens again, transferring from Owasso to Bixby. Austin's one of 5 varsity athletes to transfer into the Bixby School District. And there's also a 6'5" 8th grader from the Dallas area that has made his way to Bixby. Austin Havens also has a brother in junior high. So Havens will be a little around for a while. So it'll always be fun to watch that process. So, all right. So Bixby 49 game winning streak. It's way too early. Here we are in May. And,
I'm ready.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I need your way too early predictions here. 1, does Bixby make it to 50 games in a row? And does the streak, whether it's week 1 or somewhere, does the Bixby streak come to an end in their first year 6A1? I can't right now. I can't recall their week 2 and 3 opponents, but obviously it's Owasso. And then the district for Bixby in 6A1: Broken Arrow, Enid, Jinx, Moore, Norman North, Southmore, and Westmore. Can they run the table the first year in 6A1?
Ronnie, I'll let you start off.
Not only will they make it to 50, they're going to run the table again.
Wow.
Until anybody can get within 45 points of them in a game. How can you go against them?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, I think there's obviously a couple opportunities there for them to get the streak broke.
Oh, absolutely.
The first being Owasso Rams. There's another team that you rattled off down the road there named Jinx.
One word, Phil. Shaker.
Shaker.
Yeah.
He's going to be a sophomore, pretty darn good finally. Quarterback.
Yeah,
pretty good quarterback himself. But I agree with Ronnie. I'm going to stop short of saying that the streak is intact by the end of last year. I think Jinx is going to be. I think that's if I was going to pick it, Jinx is the defending champion. They're the 6A1 defending champion, so they're the favorite. I agree with what Ronnie's saying, but there was a guy named Presley that was pretty darn good that played for Bixby last year. And I don't see a cat on that team that's going to come in and replace him. So you got to factor that in. I do, however, think at the end of the year, I think Bixby ends up winning the state championship, but I think they might do it when we see him at Chad Richardson Stadium at the end of the year. I think it might be Bixby in there with 1 loss on the record.
Yeah, way too early. We can change our minds tomorrow. We'll
we will.
And we'll have plenty of time. We'll have plenty of time to talk about this.
After they lose, I'm definitely going to change my mind.
But I don't think what you're saying, Ronnie, is a stretch.
No,
right. I think they could very easily run the table next year because they are that caliber of a program. I mean, you got a 6'5" kid. I see a quarterback, the kid that's an 8th grader.
I'm not right. I just 6'5". I envisioned the defensive end probably. Yeah,
well, who knows in today's world, right?
But
you're obviously a destination location for for a lot of talented kids, whether it's in Oklahoma or other states. People follow them. One of the great things, it's good. It's good. I think it's good, and it can be bad, but I think it's good. All the coverage, like stuff we do, the stuff that's all over YouTube, the stuff that's all over, with Huddle and all these different places, people follow high school sports. And if you're the coach of a young man that obviously shows potential that could be that high Power 5 Division I athlete, everybody understands the rules. There's families out there that will uproot and will move to go play, and well within the rules, to go play for a high caliber program. And I think that's the kind of program Bixby's created.
And that's why I'm kind of saying they're going to run the table, because I'm sure the 5 guys that are coming in they ain't coming in to sit on the sideline. They're going to be very, very talented kids that come in.
Yeah, they're not going to.
So I'm not saying they're going to take Presley's spot by any means. I don't think they're that good.
Right,
but they'll be able to pick up his slack, I believe.
Well, we don't even know if one of those 5 is a running back or an athlete. First of all, but I do know this: there's enough cats walking around in Bixby, Oklahoma. They will have a guy. He may not be Presley, but they'll have a guy that's very, very good. Yeah. So they're not going to trot out an average guy out, at running back and that really Presley was an athlete. He'd split out everywhere, but he's a high level kid that will be playing a lot for Oklahoma State University this upcoming year.
All of our friends in 6A2 go, I don't care what happens. They're out of here.
They're gone.
Let's move on.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. We don't care. We don't care if there's 25 Presley. It's not our problem anymore. Okay.
Well, I always think of Stillwater. Stillwater High would have 2 state championships.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Presley and the Bixby bunch. I mean, but Bixby, we've seen them. Chris, me and you have seen them, and Ronnie, we've seen them a ton live. And I mean, what they would do to really, 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 really outstanding football programs was crazy. I mean, you just look at it and you go, oh my God, they got literally nobody that can keep up with this cat. And then you'd be talking about one guy, and you go, oh yeah, well, the highest recruited guy wasn't Presley. It's this Haas kid that's committed to go to Arkansas. I mean, so they're all over the field. So it's not like they were a one-trick pony, because they weren't.
Yeah. 6A2 Stillwater Choctaw. I think this is their time to try to get into the state championship. Of course, there's going to be some other teams out there we'll discuss in the coming months as well. All right. You have one ticket. You're going to go to Jinx Union. You're going to go to Owasso Bixby. Which game are you picking? You got the 2 teams in Jinx and Union who played in the state championship game. They're like, yeah, you guys can have your little side game, but yeah, we were in the championship last year. Jinx Union, what do you got?
I want to go to Bixby-Owasso because it's new.
It's new. Yeah.
I mean, that's why I want to go. Jinx Union, this is my deal with Jinx Union. Yeah, it's great. That's cool. They're playing regular season. We'll see you in the state title game. I mean, that's
been doing it for 2 decades.
Yeah, so there's really no intrigue there. It's Jinx Union. They're going to beat the brakes off each other, and then we'll see you in the semis or the finals. I mean, we'll see you somewhere down the road, most likely in the championship game. Owasso's disrupted that. Broken Arrow's disrupted that a little bit last few years. Santa Fe snuck in there one year, but I think what you're going to see now, Jinx and Union a few of those years was down. They weren't the normal Jinx and Union teams. Part of the reason why Jinx hasn't been the normal Jinx team at different times is there's just other school out there by the name of Bixby that, just happens to be right next door. So there's a lot of reasons for all that, but I think there's a lot of players. But I think for me, it's the Owasso Bixby intrigue, the new, the storyline. Can Bixby do this week in, week out against 6A1 competition? I mean, that's the storyline. I think they can. I just think Jinx is so good. If anybody's going to trip them up, I mean, I think Bixby's going to beat Owasso. I think I'm not going to say they're going to beat them handily. I think it's going to be a 21-20, 21-14, 14, that kind of game, 28-24, something like that. But I think Bixby will win that game. When you get into now, barring injuries, right? We just got out of track season in baseball, so we got a lot of road to go. But barring injuries, I think the one team on the schedule, because of this kid that they got over there at Jinx, that kid's pretty cool as a cucumber as a freshman. I think Jinx is the one that could trip him up. And maybe now it's not Jinx Union. Maybe now it's Jinx Bixby that we say, or maybe it is Owasso Bixby that we say, I will see you in the state championship game. Who knows?
And just remember, Jinx and Bixby have played in the last several years in the first game of the season. Bixby's had the upper hand on that series as of late, but now Bixby and Jinx are in the same district. So therefore you have Bixby had to go find Owasso or some other opponents as well. So Ronnie, one ticket, Union Jinx or Bixby Owasso?
Bixby-Owasso, just for all the reasons Phil just mentioned, especially because it's brand new. And matter of fact, I would probably take a ticket to Bixby Jinx before I would take a ticket to Jinx Union. We saw
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We saw the state championship game last year, and it was a great game. It was fun to watch. Really good. But again, it's been going on for 16 decades now, and I just much rather get a fresh look at Bixby-Owasso or Bixby and Jinx. I think those are great games to go to.
And let's be honest about it. When it comes to state titles, one school's dominated that game, that rivalry. I mean, Jinx has won a ton more state titles than
Union.
So I mean, they've been great games. There's been some great regular season games. But if you had to pick one powerhouse collectively over the last 20 years, it's Jinx. I mean, in the state of Oklahoma, it's Jinx. It's not Union. Yeah. I mean, Union was right there, but it's like the horse that finished second to Secretariat in every race. You know, I mean, that's what it felt like. You had two great programs, but Jinx definitely had the hands up.
Yeah, and we saw in the state championship game, Union jump on top really quick, score in the very first play of the game, I think it was, and then I was like, oh no, this the year Union's gonna. No, it wasn't. just like that, it switched, and Jinx was back to being its dominant self again.
Well, and they showed last year with a lot of the kids. They got a lot of kids coming back. Jinx does also next year. You know, so not that they ever went away. They just weren't as dominant for a few years. But you know, Jinx is still Jinx, boys. That hasn't changed.
Yeah, Jinx 18 state football championships, I believe, and Union, I think, with 9 state champions. And I'm going to agree with you guys with one ticket. I'm going to go with Bixby-Owasso just because of the storylines. You got a quarterback that transferred in there. Yeah. First game of the year. It's in Tulsa. You got 2 great coaches, 2 great programs on the rise. And Jinx will say, get your game. We'll see you in a few weeks for a much important game, which is a district game, and could be would be fun as well. So
are we going to get that ticket, Chris? Are we making that trip?
Well, it is Thursday. I think we would be available that Thursday. So I think we better start asking here pretty quick. It's in Chapman Stadium, so surely they got room for 3 knuckleheads that have a high school show.
Well, let me ask you guys this: who do you want to win? We're not calling it. Who do you want to see win the game?
Ooh, I appreciate dynasties. I appreciate powerhouses. I would love to see Bixby ride this for as long as they can. That's just intriguing me watching the Patriots all those years, the Yankees in the early 90s, just powerhouses like that. I get inspired by that kind of stuff, to see the dominance and how it's so amazing how good coaches are and how they can just keep replenishing themselves year after year. I think that's the thing in greatness.
Now, Ronnie, I don't know. Go ahead, Chris.
I don't really have a rooting interest, and I but I've learned over the years. Carl Albert went through a stretch. Wagner went through a stretch. Guthrie went through a stretch. Jinx Union has been there. I've learned through watching closely teams who win all the time. Other teams and other people really root against them just because they want to see something different. So I think if you ask the entire state of Oklahoma football fans, I think 80% would probably be rooting for Owasso.
I would agree with that.
I agree with that, and I would be one of those 80%. I mean, I know Ronnie probably doesn't remember this, but I was the catalyst to Owasso winning a state title a few years back. Chris recalls this. But
yeah, you really willed them.
Well, I mean, I stepped out there, week 00 and made the prediction and rode that pony all the way to the victory circle. But I think, I love what Coach has done at Owasso. I think he does it right. I love everything about how he coaches. And that's not a negative to how Bixby coaches. I think they do it right also. But to me, I love parity. I like it when the 2 teams playing for a state title or have 1 loss apiece, or they have, I like that stuff.
Yeah.
So I will be. There's no chance we're calling this game, is there, Chris?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. Since there's 0 chance, I will tell you right now, if we go to the game, I'll be buying some Rams shirts and hats when we get there. I'll be cheering loudly for the Rams.
See, I won't be clapping. I won't be going, yeah. I will do that.
Oh, I know. You're a professional. I know. I get it.
I'll be watching the game and appreciate the talent and the X's and O's going on, the coaching's going back and forth. That's the kind of stuff I like to see.
If I can find a Rams like hat, like one of those styrofoam hats to put on with a Ram, I'll be wearing that running up and down the stadium.
I'll be upset if we don't have a great pregame meal in the press box. That would be my
Yeah. Now we're talking.
Owasso won the state champ. Phil will the Owasso Rams to the 2019 state championship, and it's only
By
been 3
myself.
years we've been hearing about this. So
by myself,
by yourself, absolutely.
Yeah.
So all right, guys, appreciate the feedback on a great matchup, Owasso and Bixby. Great way to kick off the high school football season, and then there's a bunch of games after that on Friday, and then months of high school football should be fun when we roll into August.
Well, and I think for us, man, a game like this being on a Thursday night, obviously that's done for a reason because I know there's a lot of people that'll want to come and watch that. And man, I know you can count the three of us down as three people that I can just tell you right now. I'll be at your house, Chris, at 4 o'clock to pick you up. Ronnie will swing by and get you. We're going to Tulsa to watch that game because that's one I want to watch. I mean, that'll be a blast.
Certainly will. Appreciate you guys. Of course, this is the High School Huddle, and we will have great stuff throughout the summer times as spring sports have wrapped up. Spring football is going on, but a lot of stuff that we'll be able to talk to you about the entire year, and especially throughout the entire football season. We'll return once again this year for the High School Huddle. I think we might. I know we'll be able to add more material this year to the High School Huddle. And so in the years past, we've done an hour radio show, but I think we're going to be able to expand that this year and have a great time with the High School Huddle, and invite everybody to like the Second Banana Media YouTube page as well as Facebook page, and also on our podcast page. We'll share a bunch of stuff like this throughout the year. Ronnie, Phil, appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Ronnie Phillips, Phil Nichols, I'm Chris Evans. We'll talk to you next time on the High School Huddle.